One, two, testing. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4, testing. 1, 2. This is Dom Famularo here, and I am testing all of my life. I test in every lesson that I have on Zoom. When it starts out, when I click on that, enter the waiting room area there in there, I say testing 1, 2. Here we are. Great to have you all here. I want you all to enjoy the fact that as I'm doing these Sabian Education Network seminars that we organize, and with my cohort in crime here, Joe Bergamini. He organizes these all. We choose people that we can bring in, and we try and deliver you, unique people that are really offering a lot that you can learn from, and of course have questions that you want to ask, and join us in the course of our little journey here. And I've done literally hundreds of these interviews. It's been so much fun to be able to tap into people's lives, no matter where they are globally. And today, I've got a wonderful friend of mine who had studied with me, and she's just a fantastic educator. I love her playing. She's got such great musical touch, the way she plays with time. Everything is so great to deliver it. And when I first started meeting Hanne, when she came in for lessons, she was based in San Francisco, but she's originally from Denmark. So coming live from Denmark, I want you all to please welcome Hanne Andersen.
Hi, it's great to see you. So great to see you again, Dom. And thank you so much for having me. I'm just really honored, both you and Joe and Sabian. I appreciate it very much. I love Sabian.
Great to have you here, and this is great. And you've got a great setup here, and you've made the move back to Denmark recently. You made the move. You are 6 hours ahead of my time schedule here in Eastern Standard Time. And when we were doing lessons, you were 3 hours behind New York time in the Bay Area in San Francisco. So now where you are from the Bay Area, you're 9-hour time difference, and you still have students there. So I want to get into all of this in what you have been doing and what you're currently doing. And this is great to have you joining me.
Thank you so much.
So let's start. I want to go back, to kind of where music kind of entered your life. How old were you, and kind of what got you started in being involved with music, and specifically with drums?
Yeah, it goes way back. My mom was a music teacher, and when I was really little, before I started school, she would we'd sing together, and my sister and my mom and then and we would sing harmony, and it was I just loved it. And then I got in a choir and started taking piano lessons and guitar lessons, and I was just loving music and all the different instruments. But then I had like a moment when I got to, it was around middle school. And my music teacher, he had been just really mentoring me in a wonderful way. He was just a fantastic teacher. And his name is Paul Gadeberg. And, I'm really grateful for all the encouragement that he gave me. It's sort of like when you have a teacher early on like that takes special interest in you.
Yeah,
it's sort of like it can carry you through the rest of your life. And I'm really grateful for those kind of people. But he was saying, "Okay, come on now, you got to pick an instrument," because I was just like enjoying playing all of them. And then he took me into the music room, and then it's like, there was a bright light shining from God or something down on the drums. It was like, I want to play that.
That is
it was awesome. Yeah. And so I just knew it was just the drums. I was still playing the other instruments, because I always done that. And but the drums were just my main instrument from then on.
Well, it's kind of interesting, and your musicality, when I hear you play, really is very deep and very aware of all that's happening in the music. So that's interesting that you took some piano lessons, you played some guitar, you did some singing. You really were much broader in the musical world before you entered the drums at that age.
Yeah, I was just loving it. No matter the instrument, it was just yeah. And I can see I have some friends that have come on. That's really nice.
Oh, you really have, man. Already we've got from New Zealand. We've got Catherine Wall from Christchurch, New Zealand, which is probably about 5 a.m. for her to join us. So
thank you. That's really sweet. And then Peter. Hi, Peter.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, this is so great.
Oh, Joe Bergamini's on here too. So we got some people that are joining us. So you started taking drum lessons right away at that point? Did you start studying?
I really, really wanted to. So I was being kind of sneaky about it, because there was no drum teacher where I grew up. I had to travel pretty far to get to drum lessons, and I was just a kid. I couldn't really do that. So my music teacher, the one that also really helped me and mentored me, he knew a few things, and he taught me everything that he knew. And then I was kind of lucky because one of my friends was able to get drum lessons, and his parents was taking him that whole drive to the drum teacher,
Hmm.
and so he would invite me over, and he would let me just look through his book, and I would just like sit down his drums and and play through the assignments that he'd gotten. And I think it probably got pretty annoying after a while, but but it was very nice of him. So once I got to high school, then I was able to start taking lessons because there was a good teacher there in the city of Esbjerg, and I was learning a bunch of other things. I was a music major in high school, and so there was all kinds of stuff that I was learning. I was playing guitar in jazz band, and I was playing drums, and I was playing and I was learning music theory and composition and everything, you're training all the classic stuff, and I had finals in music too, and it was really good.
So you're learning guitar. You're playing with the jazz band. So you're learning, jazz changes. You're learning chord structures. You're learning, a much deeper sense of music theory at that age.
I thought it was really great. Yeah, I mean, I was really happy they let me do it because I really wasn't very good, but so it was very nice of them.
That's great
But
that it's great that you had that desire to do it.
yeah, well, I did practice, trying to learn those crazy chords and stuff. So
So what were you learning in drum lessons when you started taking lessons? What started with that? Were they working on hand technique? Were you working on styles of playing? What was happening?
I was mostly learning beats and fills, that kind of stuff. Not so much hand technique. That came later on, but yeah. So mostly that. And reading, well, I could already read because it's sort of like when you start with piano, it's just everything just translates to the drums pretty easily.
Yeah.
So
No,
I kind of figured that out on my own, actually. As when you play piano, then it's like I said, it's not a big jump. It's the same, really.
So you had this fundamental theory. You understood reading music. So you're taking some lessons. Were there any bands or drummers that you were listening to that you're starting to be influenced by?
Oh, definitely, yeah. There was a lot. Well, I was really young. It actually meant a lot to me. There was this band, and it was like incredible for the time. It was all women, and it was called Shit and Chanel. And they got sued later for their name, by the way. But they had some really great songs, and there was a woman drummer, and that just really helped a lot. It was really inspired me. And then Karen Carpenter, of course. And then, I mean, at that time, I was mostly into to pop, rock, that kind of stuff. So the jazz came a little bit later. But I liked Led Zeppelin. I liked, I kind of started out from that.
Boy, it's interesting when you think about, someone like Karen Carpenter, who, although I never met her, I mean, it was just amazing to watch her on television and just watch her do what she did. She really was an excellent drummer.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
And
and she had drum chord chops. I mean, she played.
yeah, she did. Yeah, it was great. And later on, there was another one too, who's a really phenomenal percussionist who played with Miles Davis and Wayne Shorter, who also just really the inspiration that I got from her and her brilliant playing of Marilyn Mazur. That was actually really important to me too. But it's sort of different inspiration depending on where in my life I was with things.
Yeah.
Jack DeJohnette was a really big influence, and then of course Ed Thigpen was so.
And
Or Haynes.
Ed was living in Denmark for many, many years.
Yeah, I was so lucky because he actually really took interest, and he mentored me while I was at the conservatory in Copenhagen. And he was just the most amazing person, and the kindest, the most generous, and then obviously just an unbelievable drummer. And I just I really treasured every second I had with him because he was just wonderful.
Good for you, man. Ed was again one of my drumming heroes. First of all, you were correct. He was a great guy. He was so compassionate and sensitive and concerned. He took interest in what you were doing. Just a wonderful communicator at that level. But he played so great. There's an album that he played on with Oscar Peterson called Motions and Emotions. And it's one of my favorite albums because some of the tempos are insanely fast, and it's a trio. So they're playing not that loud, but they're burning with these tempos. And Ed was just a phenomenal player, and he was kind of a part of the design of the sound control ride cymbal,
Yes.
which I know you have one there, which you want to talk about, which is
I do. I
a
love that symbol.
beautiful cymbal to ride on for sure. So you're hearing all these players. You mentioned Jack DeJohnette. So
Mhm.
so you were listening to some jazz stuff. Obviously, you were starting to step into some deeper jazz stuff.
Yeah, I started really getting into that. It was sort of like I went to another music school in Denmark, which is sort of like a I don't know what to call it. It's like a gap year type program that people do in Denmark. That's really really cool and really fun. And I did a lot of music there. And between that and then I went to LA to go to Musicians Institute there. So in between the time there, I just was living in a commune with some friends. It was really awesome because we were all musicians and we were just playing together a lot. And I was just in there on the piano like every single day trying to work my way through a real book. And I just couldn't believe it because all those incredible, beautiful chords and just learning all those songs and it was just anyway, so that got me much deeper into jazz. That when I just really started digging in with that, and so it was at that point I started getting into to all the jazz stuff more really. And then I went to MI, and then obviously there they were just throwing all kinds of stuff at us, and it was fantastic too. I really I learned so much over there. It was such a great program, and it's in 1 year. They crammed so much in, and there were some fantastic teachers there that I greatly appreciated. You know, they just were just so generous with their knowledge and so passionate about uh, their art and passionate about the students. And I can't say enough good about that experience. So there
So
was a lot of jazz there too, but all kinds of other things too, Latin and rock and
so you were opening up to a variety of different music. So explain
yeah.
that. So well, first of all, the fact that you were living in this commune, that must have been incredibly incredible. This is like, this is like Woodstock all over, man. You're hanging out with people that are into the same thing you're into, the music. I mean, it really is a very, very, good place to be able to learn and experience and take in music and life for sure. Absolutely.
It was really cool.
So
And we made some friends for life there too. So
yeah, totally. That's the bonding that's forever. So, so when did you make the move to come to the U.S. to go to study at MI?
that was in 87. And then I went there from 87 to 88. And then while I was over there, I traveled back to audition at the conservatory in Copenhagen, the Royal Conservatory there. It's the rhythmic, it doesn't translate very well, but it's called the Rhythmic Music Conservatory.
Mhm.
And that was like mainly a jazz school at the time, but we did other things there too. And that's where I met Ed Thigpen too. And I started really getting into even more jazz. I was mostly playing jazz when I was there.
Interesting. So when you got to MI, who was
Mhm.
teaching you at MI at that time?
Oh my goodness, it was like some great people there. It was Ralph Humphrey. It was Joe Porcaro was there, and he was really wonderful to me. He was just so great. He was and Jeff Porcaro came in too, which was fantastic. I think there's still like a video up somewhere on YouTube with a clinic that he did, and it was kind of cool because it was like a small room. There weren't that many students, and I was sitting there. It was so fun to watch that video later when I found it. Um, but there really were a lot of great teachers there. Yeah.
So talk about a couple of different things. Talk about Ralph Humphrey. Ralph Humphrey is a dear friend. He's a phenomenal drummer. He's
Uh-huh.
a great person. He does all of the bigger shows out in LA. If the Emmys or the Tonys, if they're doing some stuff out there, they usually have Ralph on drums. He's such a phenomenal player. What was it like? What did you learn like in Ralph's lessons? What were you guys working on?
You know what? Actually, we mostly worked on odd meter stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, I don't know really why, but that's that's sort of what it ended up being when I
Yeah.
was. Yeah, I mean, I was going around. They had this great thing that they had these. They had like little separate classrooms, so there was room for maybe 4 or 5 people, 6, 7, maybe at the most. And then you come in there, and not many people took advantage of it. But you could actually have like a whole hour. Sometimes you might be the only student there. You could get like a whole extra hour private lesson. And I always tried to show up for all those. Sometimes I was bouncing from like classroom to classroom because I just wanted to like. I wanted to get it all, you know. So I'd come up for the beginning when they introduced the class and what they were going to do in it, and then I was kind of figuring, if I can run over to the private lesson over there or the clinic there with that teacher. So it wasn't like set private lessons, you know, that I was doing with Ralph Humphrey. So it was just sort of a lot of times I had a different private teacher, um, um, but when I came in, it was in that context, right? And then like I said, I don't really know why, but we just mostly ended up working at odd meters, and he was so passionate about that too, and it was so cool, and that's really got me going on odd meters, and I'm sure I really have been irritating a lot of people with that along the way too. Wanted to play odd meters.
Did he have his book? Did he have his odd time meter book that he had out? I mean, I think it had just come out like in the late '70s.
Yeah, so I was working a little bit out of that one too at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, but Ralph again is brilliant. I mean, listen, he goes back to the Zappa days. I mean,
Yeah.
Ralph really played some phenomenal music that
Hmm.
was really, really very, very, very deep.
He was amazing and such a nice person too, and just really giving and just I loved when I was able to sneak in and get some time with him. I just any opportunity I got.
Boy, well, he's still teaching. He's still doing it at the Los Angeles College of Music. He's still
Mm.
actively teaching and doing his thing out there, which is incredibly active. So, what was it like now with Joe Porcaro? Joe Porcaro, who we just lost about a year ago, and
Yeah.
is another dear friend who I met back in 1976 when I first met Joe Porcaro and Ralph Humphrey at
Hmm.
that time when I moved to California. And what was it like working with Joe?
Oh, he was phenomenal too. I mean, and just his history, all the incredible stuff he'd been doing in the studio, and just I can't say enough good about him. And he was such a warm and nurturing person, and he was just really noticing the individual students and just really taking interest. And so he was one of the ones that I was kind of just kind of following around when I could, you know.
Well,
Even if I'd already had a class with him, I might like sneak into one of the others, even though I wasn't really supposed to be there. But I would go in and like hang out in one of the classes he was doing with one of the other groups that were
what do you
there.
think? What do you think drove you at that time? You sound like you were very motivated, and you just had this. It sounds like you still do have this insatiable desire to want to learn. Where
I
that?
don't know. I really don't know. I just always that's just what I wanted to do, and I couldn't get enough of it, and I don't know. So yeah, so I just always just kind of felt like that's what I wanted to do. It started pretty early, that I decided when I was pretty small, and just it was just all I wanted to do.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I don't know really.
Well, that really is extremely motivating, and it's part of what I want everyone to hear about because that really is, your success in what you're doing as a performer and as an educator, and the fact that you're doing this as a full-time job in Denmark is just so phenomenal and inspiring that I want people to really understand that it is possible if you're this driven and have this kind of desire to want to constantly be a student and to be a good person towards your students as you're teaching, which is exactly what you do.
Thank you. It's very kind of you.
What was it like now? So, we hear the name Jeff Porcaro, and of
Hmm.
course, his new book out, It's About
Yeah.
Time with Jeff Porcaro, which Hudson Music has put out, which is a fantastic book. Joe Bergamini actually was was the editor of the book, and Robin Flans wrote the book. It's just a phenomenal product in the stepping into the life of Jeff Porcaro. Jeff comes in, you meet Jeff. What was that? What'd you pull from Jeff?
It was a little hard because I was just completely starstruck, you know. So I was just kind of sitting there and just kind of trying to just watch every little thing he did. And I was even like a little too intimidated to ask any questions. But I mean, it wasn't because of him. He was extremely nice and extremely down to earth and generous with his knowledge too. He was really trying to show and explain the things he was doing, and yeah, he was really great, and it was just incredible to even have a few seconds around such amazing people and drummers.
Boy,
So I'm so grateful for that.
When now you're experiencing someone like Jeff Porcaro, you're hearing him groove, you're hearing him talk. You got Joe Porcaro, Jeff's dad, who's showing you some stuff. You've got Ralph Humphrey. So now you come back to MI. So now you make the trip back to Denmark.
Yeah.
And and that's where you met Ed Thigpen.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and that was life-changing. I feel like one thing that was particularly life-changing at the time was because I was like into chops a lot for a long stretch there. Just
Yeah.
you know, and it was I went to see him play, and I can't remember who it was he was playing with. Unfortunately, I was just like laser focused on him, but he was playing like the same swing beat the whole way through, and he didn't practically nothing on the snare drum. He was feathering, of course, right, on the bass drum and hi-hat 2 and 4, but it was just so musical, and it sounded like he was doing a lot more. Because I mean that was sort of a lot of why a lot of people call him Mr. Taste too, because he was just so incredibly tasteful with everything he did, and he was you could hear the music. I swear, I mean, you could take the whole rest of the band out, and if just by the way he was playing the swing beat, you'd be able to hear which song he was playing. But that was like one of the things he really focused on in the lessons too, that to make sure that the song would always come out through whatever you were playing.
Boy, how powerful! You know, I got to know Ed very well in his life through Sabian and just many of our gatherings that we had at NAMM shows, and also at the Percussive Arts Society convention. Ed would come by there too, and he was always willing to sit down and share. And Ed was also an excellent tap dancer, and he really was. And he showed me a couple of tap dancing steps. And he also was a student of Papa Joe Jones.
Yeah.
So that lineage of that history of what you were getting from Ed Thigpen goes back to the depth of the great Papa Joe Jones, who played with Count Basie, was having that level of detail of knowledge. So how long were you at the conservatory there at that time?
I was there for 4 years.
Wow.
And got the degree there, yeah. And then I was just, of course, I was still that same way, that I couldn't get enough, right? So then I was spending like a good amount of my time also on the classical conservatory. So I was studying with Bent Lüloff there, and there was like a duo there that's called Safri.
Yeah.
And we were like a friend of mine, Tineke Nordhook, and we had a duo too. We were like working alongside the Safri duo. They're pretty well known in Europe. Ben Lüloff was great, but then I took off, to the United States, went back over. But I mean, that was really amazing to hang out with Ben Lüloff and see how the Safri duo, how they were also like really taken off at that time. It was just there was, I guess I'm trying to say, there was just so much going on there too at that time. It was just it was really inspiring and just really exciting. And then the conservatory too, I was getting the chance again to be exposed to all kinds of great players, and it's just I just feel really fortunate, you know.
Well, it's kind of interesting, and I want many of the people, you know, we have, although we have a global audience here, I want many of the people who are based in America to realize that, you know, there are other countries that are out there that have great music programs, that have incredible facilities. And the conservatory that you went to is a beautiful facility, you know, to go by there. You know, they've got some great concert rooms there and what they have. And I have been there. And interesting enough is the fact that here you are, you're studying this stuff. So learning drum set, you know, it was, you know, there were other things you were learning, but I mean, drum set was accepted as an instrument as a part of the conservatory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
still to this day, and it's only been recently in the past like couple decades that drum set at the American institutions and the universities is being accepted now as an instrument to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
And did you learn any mallets? Were you learning mallets at all?
Yeah, yeah, I was working on that a lot, and it um, I mean, I studied piano when I was younger, right? So so
You
that
had,
kind of gave me a bit of a head start. But I mean,
yeah.
I'm not by any stretch a great mallet player, but I was spending a good amount of time on it just to try and get to. Um, well, we were doing some concerts. My friend there and I, when we were coached by Ben Duluff, as a duo, and then we were playing all the classical percussion instruments, the ones that are used in the orchestra, and then so I had to learn to play the mallets for that thing. So so we were so we were doing all kinds of stuff. It was mainly her that was playing the mallets. I was because she was much better at it, but she's great. She's a really great mallet player. But yeah.
So here you are now. You're at the conservatory. You know, are you starting to play with different musicians? Are you stepping out now, starting to jam or play with other bands?
Yeah, I was playing with all kinds of people all the time, and we were doing gigs and playing around, and both in that it was mostly I was mostly doing jazz gigs.
Mm.
It was all kinds of jazz gigs in different places. Yeah.
And what were the clubs? Were they clubs or private? What was the music scene like in Denmark at that time?
Yeah. Well, of course, there was Montmartre in Copenhagen, but I didn't get to play there, unfortunately, at that time. But there was Jazz House, which was also a really cool place, and there were a lot of little jazz clubs, and it was pretty cool. And I was also playing a lot of private parties because there are a lot of people that wanted a jazz band to come play for a private party. That was that was like a thing at the time,
Yeah.
and so there was quite a bit of that. And I was subbing for different people, and so yeah,
Boy,
kind of
so
like that.
so you're playing jazz. Was there much pop music going on at that time?
Yeah, yeah, there was, but I was just mostly into jazz. I was just I was sort of um, it was this thing, Keith Jarrett,
Yeah,
Standards, that album with
yeah.
Jack DeJohnette. Just really, I couldn't believe it when I heard Jack DeJohnette on that album, and I just wanted to play like that, and so. So I was just really going for that, for any situation where I could could just, get to try that stuff out, and it wasn't just that; it was other things too. But he just really inspired me.
Boy, Jack. Well, Jack, and as some people may not know, Jack also is a phenomenal piano player.
Yeah,
He's a great.
the genius.
His piano chops are at a very high level. So, and I had the chance and opportunity. We were at a PAS show one day, and we were having dinner, and there was a piano and a drum set on the stage. So Jack turned to me and said, "Let's go up there and do some jamming." So I looked at him, and he went up and sat on the piano, brought me up on the drums, and we just played together just for about an hour of playing nonstop. The people went crazy,
Oh,
and
that must have been so cool.
it was so easy to play with Jack. I said to myself, I'm playing with Jack DeJohnette, and it was just so easy because as a drummer and keyboard player, he kind of knew when to leave holes and when to play. It was just
Yeah,
so
yeah, I could totally imagine.
all that stuff with Keith Jarrett must have been just it's all great music. So you were really kind of deep into the jazz world.
I was. I was really deep into it. And I really loved the stuff that was like Joni Mitchell. So it was crossing over a little bit more.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was pretty straight ahead. The what I was listening to at that time.
Well, and the Joni Mitchell stuff, which had Johnny Gurin on drums and sometimes Vinnie Colaiuta on drums. I mean,
Yeah,
she always surrounded herself with some great musicians.
yeah, yeah, and always fantastic bass lines, right?
She really just had great
To play with. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. So at this point in your life,
Exactly.
what was happening at this point in your life now? Were you doing any teaching at that time, or were you just
I
still just
was, yeah. Yeah, I had quite a few private students all the way through. Um, and and then when I was done at the conservatory, then I moved to Las Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And
and I met Bobby Morris. I had to audition for him for a band.
really, so
I
so
was so happy when you put an interview up with him because he was such a legend. He was just he was amazing, and yeah, it was
boy,
really cool.
it's for people that don't understand, Bobby Morris, on the
Mhm.
Sessions panel, that is another channel that I have on YouTube.
Yeah,
There's a
it's great.
four-part series of me interviewing Bobby Morris. And it had to be four-part series because his life was so intense. We just lost him
Yeah,
less than a year ago. But his book that was also put out by Hudson called My Las Vegas is just a fantastic book on Bobby's life. I mean, he played with Sinatra, Elvis. I mean, his story is so in Vegas at that time. He was in Vegas in the 50s.
yeah.
So, what year did you get to Vegas?
92,
90. So you get to Vegas.
92.
And what
Yeah,
made you want to go to Vegas? Why Vegas?
I actually just kind of wanted to get out and just play a lot of gigs, all kinds of stuff, whatever came up, and just and so it was kind of a funny story. We were driving to the Midwest because there had been quite a few gigs, and there was like a good scene there. And my husband at the time had some connections in the music scene there, and so we were on the way to there, and then the car broke down in Las Vegas. And so we were just there while we were waiting for the car to be repaired, and it took a while because it completely broke down, and the mechanic took his sweet time, and so it took like 2 weeks or something before the car was all fixed.
Oh
And in
God.
that time we just kind of we were going around Las Vegas and just figuring, wow, this is really cool. And we ended up deciding to stay, and I'm really happy about that because I feel like it was Las Vegas was really good to me. I feel like it was just it was a great place to be in many ways. I lived a little bit outside of town, and so otherwise it could be too much with all the lights and the
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and
sure.
action and all that. Yeah, so but it was great, so living a little bit outside, and then I go in and I play lounges, shows, concerts. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Calamity Jane, and that was really fun. She was great, and Will Rose, and yeah, that was pretty cool. And then the great thing about working there was also that there was this drummer called Mark Barrett, and he was just really a great guy, and he knew everybody, and he knew what everybody was capable and not capable of. So whenever somebody needed a musician or a band or anything, they would call him, and he would refer people. And so he'd kind of test you out right when you came to town, right? And like send a gig your way and then see how you did on it, right? And then you would kind of get the scope of what was going on. And then he would start referring you to other things after that if you did well enough, right? And but that was just so nice because it just made it so simple. Because you would just call him and tell him if you needed some gigs, and so he knew who was working, who wasn't, and who they're working with, and he was a great drummer and a great guy, and so that made it really nice. So it's just isn't that nice? You can call somebody. I'm out of a gig right now. You call somebody and say, okay, yeah, so here's a gig.
How incredible. Well, that's, Las Vegas at that time also was you know, just so much opportunity. So how did you end up meeting
Yeah.
Bobby Morris? How'd that come about?
Oh well, it didn't come right away because it was kind of he was kind of picky about who was allowed to who he would book.
Yeah.
Right. So I had been there for a while before he invited me, and it was a thing where there was a band that needed a drummer, and it was a band that he was booking, and it's just I never experienced anything like that. But he actually told me that I had to come audition for him, and nobody ever would do that, right? To ask the drummer to audition individually, right?
Wow.
But it's
Yeah.
just because he loved the drums so much,
Yeah.
so so he was just all into it. Um, but then I had to come to his office, and he had this drum set up, and I guess that's where he took people to audition for him, and I guess I passed the audition, but but it was so cool. He was so nice, and he was just and he was chatting too. He was telling stories about things, and while I was there, and it was just a really great time.
But what a genuine person he
Oh
was.
yeah,
He was. There was a wonderful tribute that Hudson Music had done for Bobby when he passed away, and it's online everywhere. So if anyone just goes to track it down, and people like Steve Smith and Daniel Glass and Joe Bergamini, all these people were able to speak some great words. And having had many times to sit down with him, he was just a man that was filled with so many stories. And how can you not have all these different stories playing in Vegas at that time, where all the acts went there? Barbara Streisand, you name it, he was in the core of what was going down musically in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't read his book yet, but I'm definitely planning on it.
It's just my Las Vegas. I recommend to everybody pick up My Las Vegas. On at hudsonmusic.com. It's just great reading because got some great pictures in there. One of the pictures I like, it has him on the drum set, and it's with Buddy Rich's big band. When Buddy would come in town, when he was learning a new chart, he had Bobby sit in and read the chart. So Buddy's in the front of the band, Bobby's on the drum set, and the band's in the midst of playing. And that's kind of how Buddy learned a lot of these tunes. He had different people sitting for him. So Bobby really, really played great. It was a great, great drummer at many levels. Great reader, big band, small group, and just all the great bands that he played with is just history, big history.
Yeah.
So at this point now, you're in Vegas. So how long did you stay in Vegas?
I stayed in Vegas until 2000.
All right.
And then moved to the Bay Area because I had kids, and I felt like the Bay Area would be better for kids.
Yeah.
And so and then I started playing in Las Vegas and got students. Started up like my drum studio, and I was teaching too when I was in Las Vegas.
Wow.
But I started like teaching more when I was in the Bay Area. I was really lucky because Phil Solar at Drumworld.
Yeah, sure.
He let me come in and teach there, even though I didn't have a student base, which is unusual. So I'm forever grateful for that. That was very nice of him. So he let me come in and teach there. And so I built my own drum studio up from there, from starting in Drumworld. And I got referrals from Drumworld in the beginning, but then after a while, it just when Drumworld closed, unfortunately, I was really sad about that.
Yeah.
That place goes back so far, and it was just. But when it closed down, then I found a studio of my own, and I also started teaching in another music store, Man & Music in Pacifica, which was. She was also really kind there to me, and so then I started building it up, and so I was driving around. To some students, to houses, depending on the situation. And then I was teaching out of my studio and teaching online, and it was just a lot of students, and it's just I feel really fortunate with that. I mean, I have so many wonderful students and so nice, such nice people. And
I had a chance to meet some of them. We did a couple of master classes together, and the students just absolutely adore you. They adore you, and they love what you're showing them. They love your personality. They love how you teach them. And you really have a way of encompassing people to pull them into the instrument and maintain that. It's beautiful.
It's nice for you to say, but it's actually the other way around. It's me that I adore them. Really.
I got a question from Larry Rizzo here. Larry is a phenomenal another drummer. I want to see if I can pull this up here. Hanne, who's on your turntable now, and who have you been listening to lately? Thank you, Larry. Great question.
Yeah, you know what? I have sort of been listening. I've been going back and listening to neo soul quite a bit lately. But then I also been going back and listening to more jazz again. And then I just been kind of jumping around a lot. I haven't had like in the past. I had a tendency to like pick something and just really like dive all the way in with that. But I haven't lately. It's been more scattered. So it's I've been checking out the local music scene, and so it's been just more spread out, than.
So what would you say your some of your jazz albums that you listen to that inspired you? You mentioned Keith Jarrett. Who else would you say? Name a couple other albums that that really are at the top of your list?
Yeah, there's so many. It's like when somebody asks me about my favorite drummer too, it's just hard to say because there's so many. I mean, I really love the Oscar Peterson stuff, right? But
Yeah,
um, I can never get tired of the like some of the older Miles Davis stuff mainly, kind of blue, and some of the stuff Tony Williams was on too. And let me see what else. It is like it's a hard question because there's
This-
so many and so
yeah.
many amazing drummers and yeah.
I'm the same way. It's kind of, it's with the amount of listening that we've done in our lifetime,
Mhm.
there's so much great music and there's so much great
Yeah.
richness in this. So, I mean, I tell guys, just start listening, listen to anything with Tony Williams, listen to Philly Joe Jones, listen to Morello, listen to all these players here, and just kind of step in the world. Of course, Buddy Rich and even guys like Cobham, what they
Oh
did.
yeah.
Bitches Brew with the early the Miles
Mhm.
album, which is 1969. I think that album came out. I mean, that had Cobham, Tony Williams, DeJohnette, that had Chick Corea on it. I mean, so many great players came out of that recording. It was incredible.
Yeah, I mean I have a really big record collection and that I haven't been able to part with, and a lot of CDs and tapes that I haven't been able to part with too. There's just so much and I don't even know where to start. I wish I could give a more specific answer, but it's just really hard to say.
Just any of the great jazz greats. You got to just start digging into them deep and just keep on going with it. We have
Yeah.
Ignazio De Fresco has just joined us, who's a phenomenal
Uh-huh.
drummer in Italy. And so you've got a really wide variety of players that have joined us here from literally all around the world. And Ignazio has got a great school in Sicily, many
Awesome.
schools that he has there too. And
Yeah.
also a great musician, a great jazz player. He's got his own book out. It's just so great to have him join us here too. Just talk about your cymbals. Let's talk about your Sabian cymbals here. And
Okay.
so many guys. And Ignazio is also a huge fan of Sabian, plays Sabian too. And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
just talk about the setup. You got a wonderful, interesting setup. So just go cymbal by cymbal. I want to see what you have on here.
So I have a whole bunch of HHX crashes. So here, and another one here, right? And the legacy HHX too. And
Hanne,
here's a splash.
go to your overview shot. Let's see the overview
Sure.
shot. Let's see what that looks like. I mean, your setup here is just so great. Look at this.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I'd have a prototype here, right? Sounds great too. HHX. And this is an ozone. It's really interesting sound, right?
Yeah.
And this is, I love this crash.
Beautiful.
A legacy here, a legacy splash, and then HHX. So that's a complex thin crash, right?
Beautiful.
And I have a little ozone over here too, splash. It's also pretty nice, I think. And then of course I have this my baby over here, the sound control Ed Thigpen.
That's the sound control. That's a great cymbal, and the fact that you still have that is incredible. You're trying to find them is rare. Just play that a little. Let's hear that.
Right? Sounds great, right?
It sounds absolutely fantastic.
And I have it in Neil Peart over here, the Paragon, also.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't put these together necessarily on one gig, right? But it's just nice to have some things to choose from here.
But in your teaching studio to have this, that the students can hear this kind of a variety of sounds and positions, having a left ride and a right ride, that's incredible. Let me hear that Paragon. Beautiful. Beautiful, man. Out of the mind of Neil Peart. How fantastic is that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about the influence from Neil Peart to Ed Thigpen. You got a pretty wide variety, and you have an evolution on there. The evolution is Weckl. I mean, this is some serious artists that you've got on your drum set there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah. And then the legacy, like what? Sorry.
What the hats that you have there? What's there?
Yeah, so I have a legacy hi-hat. Right? It sounds great for
That
jazz, right?
sounds really
And
great.
then
And
you have the click hats over here. So it's a very unique sound, and I think it's really cool. So it's very fun to play with, that the short sound. It blends really well with other sounds on the drum set, I feel like. So you can really have a lot of fun with it and play around with it. Yeah.
well, it's really, really great to hear just what you have going on there too, as far as just and I like the location of where you have the cymbal. So you have your crashers are where?
So my crashes are up above, and then here in comfortable places, I can reach to both right and left.
Right,
I
right.
have the two rides, and then I have my right hand hi hat over here, and my left hand hi hat, or if I cross over too, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just I have it set up so I can reach um, as much as possible with either hand.
Hmm. But what a great setup to have and how that is. And you have that, I mean, again, you have that the ozone that's there. Was that a prototype, or is that that ozone that you have?
So the big ozone over here, you mean, is that the one you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You see, I found it used somewhere, and I don't really know the history of it, but all it says is it has like a C printed on the back.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
We'll have to
I don't know
find
what
out.
the history is there. Yeah.
But that sounds like it might be a prototype that you were able to score and have in there. That again, the innovation, of Sabian, out of
Oh
the
yeah.
mind of Sabian. These guys, they make such great stuff, and they are constantly thinking about what they want to combine, what they want to hammer, what they want to rehammer. With their complex cymbals, there's multi-hammering. I mean, it really is. These guys have just totally, went over the deep end with, and they keep on going over the deep end with great, creative, innovative product.
Oh yeah, it's just there's so many different sounds you can get with Sabian. There's just so many different options, and so you can always get something that sounds good to you, that fits what you want and what you need.
So when you go out to do a gig, if you're doing a small gig, you'll take what with you? You'll take the Thigpen ride. You'll take maybe the legacy hats. What will you take with you?
Yeah, I might take that. Yeah, exactly. So it depends on how much I feel like taking, how much room I have, and how tired I am, how much I feel like carrying stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, of course, right. So it depends on lots of things, but yeah. So uh, the Thigpen ride here is definitely a favorite. So it's probably been on the most gigs of any of my cymbals.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, just to have the memory of Ed Thigpen with you also is
Yeah,
also just a great legacy in for Ed. I mean, just such a great guy. And it's interesting with all these different sounds that you have. Like I said, you've got Ed Thigpen through that sound control cymbal. You've got Weckl with what he's doing on the legacy hats.
hmm
Neil Peart on the Paragon, just that alone, and then the HHX sound, which is just one of Sabian's core sounds, which is a darker sound. I have all HHX on my kit here. You really have an incredible blend that you have there, but it seems like you have like a good stock of cymbals that whatever gig comes up, you know what you want to pull for that particular gig.
exactly. Yeah. So it's just really nice to have the options, right? I can just kind of go and then pick out what I feel like is going to work best for that gig, depending on the size of the room, how open it is, and if it's an outdoor gig, then it's different sounds. If there's a lot of glass in the room, then I have to be careful with some other things. The way the sound carries, how packed is it going to be in there? I think about those kind of things. What cymbals are going to work best for that particular room.
Boy, how great to have that level of depth. I mean, I played a job here in my village in Port Jefferson outdoor on a concert a few weeks ago, and I brought 5 ride cymbals with me because I had no idea what it was going to sound like outside the way it was, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I found one, my HHX stage ride really kind of opened up, and then at one point I put the Weckl ride Evolution on my left side, and they both just comp each other, and it just worked. So I mean, having a variety of choice is a very, very important part in our cymbal
Yeah.
set.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it makes a big difference. It's like one cymbal can sound really great on one gig, and then you go play another gig and it sounds awful just because it just doesn't work for that place. If it's a big room, small room,
Absolutely, all those different variables. Tim Conley had joined us here, a wonderful drummer up in Canada area, and same thing too. He's got a huge setup with a lot of students that he teaches. He does the same thing when he goes out to do a gig. He finds out exactly all the variables of that gig and brings a variety of cymbals to have so he can do it. So Tim, thanks so much for joining
Yes.
us also. Just talk about
Thank you.
when I met you, you were living in the Bay Area.
Mhm.
We started doing some sessions together, and you impressed me so much that you had so much knowledge on the instrument and what you were doing. And it was just so great to see that all these students that you had. And then you started organizing some master classes that we did with these students. But these students that you have now, you moved back to Denmark, but you're still teaching these students now that are in the Bay Area.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like in the future I'm just going to be traveling a lot, and I'm not really, sure. Things are just so uncertain with COVID right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of hanging tight here, and then. But I'm really looking forward to seeing them again soon, hopefully. So like some of them, I feel like a drumming mom for them. It's like some of them I had for years and years, and it's just and they're kind of like kids, or and some of the adults are like friends, or if they're younger adults, then I feel like also like a grandma or something. But yeah, no, it's just for a lot of them, it's just it's kind of personal, that it's not just a business in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's relationships that are just so deep that
yeah.
the fact that we're connected through music and then specifically drums. But what's amazing is that you're teaching these students in the Bay Area, so it's a 9-hour time difference from where you are to California.
Yeah.
So how the hell do you start to work your schedule? What hours when you're teaching sometimes?
Yeah. So I mean, my students they're just so great. I mean, they a lot of them, the ones that were really late for me, I didn't have to say anything. They said, I feel bad about it being so late. I don't mind moving to an earlier time. Like I saw Paige was here. And she was one of the ones that said, I hate to have you do the lesson so late. So she was nice enough to like work it in at lunchtime with her job, and she's excellent too, an excellent student. But I haven't really been able to keep up completely about who's there. But I've seen a couple of my students there, so on the chat list. So thank you for being here. Thank you everybody for being here. Hi, there you are.
Look at this. Fantastic. Thank you, Paige, for joining us.
Yeah. It's really great to see all those comments. Thank you so much.
Well, this as this is,
Hello.
although this is live now, it'll be recorded. It's live on Facebook and live on YouTube, so people can go to the Sabian Ed YouTube channel and check it out and what's going on and be able to watch this again, so we can share this throughout the virtual insanity of the internet. But it's so fantastic. What would you say, before we close up, what would you say for some parting advice for specifically young females that want to get involved in playing music? What would you advise to them?
Yeah. I would say just it's like finding Nemo, just keep swimming. Persistence. Just keep playing, and then find people you enjoy playing with, and just I mean, that's really the same advice for everyone else too. I would say just keep playing and enjoy where you're at the time, because it's not we don't have like, it's not a beginning and an end, right? It's not like that. It's just we all have our own journey then, and who knows which direction it's going to go. Like my car broke down in Las Vegas, right? I mean, who knows? It's just things go in strange ways sometimes. Sometimes it's a zigzag thing, and a lot of times it can end up being like a how would you say, that you maybe gain a little bit more broader knowledge if you go like this here, right? Instead of if you go like that, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. So it's all a journey. We all have our own journey, and it's our journey, no one else's.
Well, that's well said. We have some, as I mentioned, Ignacio De Fresco. He's a fantastic drummer from Italy. Let me see if I can. Let me see. Can you see that? Where's mine's blacked out here? Can you see his comment?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, fantastic symbols. Thank you, Sabian. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And this here who just joined us, Nina.
Hi.
Nina Parra is a phenomenal, phenomenal drummer in Brazil, in São Paulo, Brazil, and she's joined us. So you've really reached some people throughout the world. Thank you, Nina, for joining us.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I watched a couple of her videos. She's really good.
She is
Great
a
drummer.
monster player from Brazil. She's playing great. She's got tons of students. She does an incredible school of teaching and some classes, some private and some master classes. So she's really doing great.
Yeah.
And Hanne, you really have inspired many, many people, and you are continuing to inspire them. And what's amazing about it is that you are, no matter where you are, you've got this great setup. You're reaching people globally. You're playing great. You're teaching great. You really have this incredible positive spirit of what you're doing, and it really is reaching people globally at such a high level.
Well, thank you. But it's actually the other way around. I mean, it's others that are inspiring me. So.
Well, that shows a great sense of your humility. I like that. That's fantastic. Hanne, you have been great. Thank you on behalf of Sabian Education Network. We have this incredible opportunity to be able to go out there. Joe Bergamini helps to organize this and make this happen. Let's keep in touch. I look forward absolutely at some point to seeing you soon. If you get back to the States here, or if I get over to Europe at some point, we'll hook up for sure and touch base. I look forward to sitting down with you.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Thank you, Sabian. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Dom.
Thank you so much, Hanne. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hanne, stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you soon, all right?
Yeah, see you soon, yeah.